He's talking about Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, and yeah.
But I'm looking at a man in the back. I tell you what, I watched Ron DeSanctimonious getting ready to speak about 6 months ago.
All right, I don't know what that. I watched a man in the back of the room. It's just a non sequitur. He just kind of grabs that out of the air. It's super weird.
He was on a stage with your governor, and your very loyal governor, who's now the least popular governor in the country.
No, they aren't. No, they're not the least. Iowa doesn't have the least popular governor in the country.
And they were getting ready to speak, and it was very interesting. Two young men, they looked like they came out of the Wharton School of Finance. Very handsome guys, obviously from Iowa. He was standing back, and somebody was introducing him.
Again, it's a weird, him just kind of, I don't know, kissing Iowa ass, and yet trying to make the point that only handsome people graduate from fucking Wharton, and then I don't know what the hell.
And do you remember this? And they walked up.
No one knows what the fuck you're talking about yet, stupid.
Up, and they took the podium like this. They were the coolest cats I've ever seen. They weren't like sneaking up, right? They walked on the stage, just lifted.
God damn, the sniffing too.
Did everything up, and they just walked off with it. Two guys. And the governor was screaming, "You took our podium." And DeSanctimonious is screaming, "We're my podium, my podium." They're standing there with that. And they walked off. And then if you watched it a little longer, you see them, they walked around, and you could see them backstage. They just stole the podium. They took it away. I'm dying to find those two guys because I'd love to shake their hand. I don't know.
All right. CSL, do we have any idea what the fuck he's talking about? I like that. I missed the two people stole the fucking podium thing. Like, does anybody know what the ever-loving shit he's talking about? Okay, hold on. Two men steal DeSantis podium, Iowa. I don't know what the fuck. Ron DeSantis dog by protesters at Iowa State Fair. Because okay. No. Videos of two men steal. Okay, videos of two men steal. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Let's see. Ron DeSantis is booed off podium and vigil for mass shooting victims, whatever. Yeah. No idea. Honest to God. Like, just fucking gibberish. Right. Okay. Maybe it's to be found, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. Like, I was looking. I looked for it, but.
I don't know if they're in the room. Are they in the room? I don't know. Nobody knows who they are.
Right. Even the people who you think it was. Yeah, I don't know if it is the Arkansas podium. Yeah.
It was one of the coolest acts I've ever seen in politics. So if you...
What, did you dream it?
You would...
Or did I dream it?
Spread the word. I've never done this before. Spread the word. I have to find... I said, I'm going to Iowa. I have to find those two guys, okay? So please look for them.
Yeah. Can we comb through your fucking rotted brain?
Madam Attorney General, you can do it better than anybody if you put the full force, if you do what they do to me. They have the full force of the Justice Department and against the political opponent of a guy who can't speak well. So if you could do that, I want to find that.
No, okay. A guy who can't speak well. No one knows what the fuck you are talking about.
Those two people, and I hope you don't prosecute them. They did nothing wrong. Likewise, Nikki Haley opposed my border wall. Do you know she opposed the wall very strongly? She was totally against it.
Then why did you make her your UN delegate?
Which tells you where she's coming from.
Yes, she's coming from South Carolina to the UN thanks to you. You hired her.
She condemned my strong border policies, and in 2016, she stabbed the Republican Party in the back by siding
2016
with a gentleman named Barack Hussein Obama. Remember Rush Limbaugh? Here you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah, the dead guy, right? The death because of his drug use, 30,000, I don't know, painkiller, oxy. Was it? He was having his maid smuggle oxy. and then he got busted going to like the Dominican Republic with like Viagra and Oxy, something like that.
With his rush, I'm talking about Barack Hussein Obama.
So he used to do that. Remember that racist thing that he would just do all the time that we are all like, isn't racism fun? That just, yeah.
Barack, emphasis on Hussein Obama.
Yeah, we got it. But the emphasis being that it is a Middle Eastern name means it's a handsome one, I think. Isn't that right?
He was a piece of work. We gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Remember that?
Yeah, he's the first guy to ever get busted for using his maid to traffic 30,000 Oxy pills to ever receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Right. He was very brave. He fought a hard battle. That last couple of years, he fought a hard battle. But Barack Hussein Obama, she sided with Barack Hussein Obama against me on a thing called the Trump travel ban. And the travel ban meant
and then you hired her for the UN.
We want to keep people from terrorist countries out of the United States, if you don't.
Yeah, okay. Keeping terrorists out of the country, good. Keeping people out of the country just because they come from countries that have terrorists in them, not good. Because here's an example you asshats might possibly be able to wrap your fucking brain around. Coptic Christians. So there's myriad of areas in the Middle East where Christians are like notoriously persecuted, slaughtered. And some of those people, oddly enough, might want to flee to the United States because of that persecution. And one would think that, that you guys being the alleged party of Christianity might be okay with that. But instead of going, no, you can't. Look, you're in a country where there's a lot of victims and there's a lot of perpetrators. And since there's perpetrators there, the victims can't escape because fuck you. That's that. Yeah.
Mind. And she fought me on it. I said, what the hell is she doing? She was in a different position. But she fought me on it. I wasn't too happy, but I did want to make Henry the governor, so sometimes you do things. She even said illegal alien.
That's super weird, too, because so his new argument is he made her ambassador to the UN so that he could vacate the South Carolina governorship, and so that her like they could put somebody else in there that was more suitable to him. Super fucking weird.
Aliens were not criminals. Ron and Nikki also want to gut Social Security and Medicare for seniors. Now they're changing their tune, but
no, he makes shit up, and then it turns out not to be true, and whatever.
If they were, it's not going to happen. By the way, first of all, they're both getting killed by Biden in the polls, and I'm beating Biden in every single poll in every single state. So you're not going to do it.
He's not beating Biden in every single poll in every single state. Fucking ridiculous. He knows it. By the way, this is also in the zone of him saying he won 50 states last time. Like, he's just, I don't know what, like, semen version of osmosis he's getting from hanging out with Mike Pillow, but good Lord.
Nikki had one rigged poll a long time ago, like 3 months ago. One poll that showed she was up by like 11 or 12 points. And it was a rigged poll. I know the polling group very much.
Yeah, I pay them to rig polls for me all the time. I just couldn't afford them this time because I'm broke as fuck.
The best poll you can buy. And
yeah. You might not want to let people know that you're aware that polls can be bought and that you know the people who sell the polls very well. I'm just saying.
Because they're just as dishonest as these people back here. They're pretty.
Well, how can they be dishonest? If the news is reporting the poll, but the poll is bullshit, how do the news people know that? They're just reporting what the poll says. It's not their fucking fault.
Dishonest. So what happens, she uses that to a fare thee well, but she loses every time. She loses in every state. She loses to everybody. And
she loses in every state. She loses to everybody. Just, I mean, it's almost like somebody fighting as they're asleep, like just punching. Buster. I beat the Buster. It's this, you know what I mean? It just has this energy of like a fade punch. Like he's just, stop, don't.
And she's really not much of a Republican. She's certainly.
Jesus Christ. You hired her to be the UN rep for your administration.
Not MAGA. DeSantis voted 3 times to raise the retirement age on Social Security to at least 70, 3 times. And Nikki Haley says the retirement age of 65 is, quote, her words, way too low. You don't hear that from
Hey, fuckhead. Most of the people in that room believe this shit.
Trump, because we have so much money underfoot. We
Underfit.
have liquid gold more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. We were number 3 or 4 in oil production. And by the time I got out, you have to see this graph, Saudi Arabia, Russia, sort of going a little bit up. And then we're down here and we're like a rocket, you know, it's like, psh. And we were way number 1 and we were energy independent, but we would have been energy dominant within a few months. We would have been.
If it went up like a rocket ship, how the fuck did we, if we're energy independent by like this much of a change and it went up like, I don't know, this is, hold on, tell me this story again, asshole. Tell me what happened.
Russia, sort of going a little bit up. And then we're down here and we're like a rocket, you know, it's like, psh. And we were way number 1 and
we were way number 1.
We were energy independent, but we would have been energy dominant within a few months. We would have been making so much.
Yeah, 2 weeks after we make that deal with Iran, but of course you had to finish the healthcare plan first and release your taxes, and then right after that,
Much money we would have started paying off our debt. We would have reduced taxes still further, and that's where we could do so much, and we can also do a lot of cutting. We can also do. Is that Nigel Farage, by the way? Oh, you stand up, will you? I'm just looking at this handsome guy. He's been a backer of mine from day 1.
Okay, real quick. Look, it's a little fucked up that he's got, I mean, everybody has surrogates come and help them in their final push and that kind of shit. And so Trump has Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. They're working, you know, the voters for him, just kind of showing up and trying to bring people out to the caucuses and whatnot. And basically, like, it's your chance to meet a MAGA celebrity, right? So he's trying to get people there. And he knows Nigel's there. He spoke with him earlier. It's not surprising that he's there. It's like, this is a total, like, lame ham-handed setup. But ultimately, he's just trying to, like, get back onto whatever track he was on, if he was on one at all. So he's like, yeah, there's that guy. Hey, you suit, this, blah, blah. He does that a lot. He like picks some person out and then inflates a detail with him and then tries to use that as a way to get himself back on teleprompter. The big thing that I think I see most in common with the people that are being interviewed that support Trump so far in the stuff that I've seen about the Iowa caucuses is that none of them are fucking from Iowa. It's super weird. He's got, because all of his front row Joes are there, but they can't caucus for him. They're not Iowa voters.
A thing called Brexit, very non-controversial. And you've been right. They haven't implemented too well, but you've been right. No, we're big fans. Thank you.
What the fuck does that mean? It was a terrible policy, but only because they did it the way it was actually written. And it would be great if it hadn't sucked.
It's really an honor to have you here. Great. You look great. I love these suits. You know, they know how to dress over there. We don't know how to dress like they do. Thank you.
Well, I mean, his tie stops at his belt. I suppose that's a... Fashion tips for that, Nigel. You don't have a giant red tie that dangles about as low as your balls.
Great honor, man. Nikki Haley even supported Rhino Paul Ryan's 2011 plan to destroy Medicare, and the very same plan that led Democrat television ads showing Republicans wheeling Granny off the cliff. Remember the Paul Ryan, Granny off the cliff? Well, DeSantis loves Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan really hurt Fox, although they did very well the other night with their wonderful town hall. Yeah. Thank you very much. But
no, they didn't. Like oh God, his ratings suck.
But he's a big Paul Ryan fan. Paul Ryan was a disaster as speaker. You know,
I have to say, like, you guys have been watching this asshat with me for like 3 years now, 2.5 years. I gotta say, this has got to be the end. This is fucking awful. This is like, we've seen him fade before, but they are just running him fucking ragged. And he's desperately running himself ragged. I don't think anybody has to tell. Like, they're probably saying, you gotta get out there. You gotta make sure you gotta get out there, because they're seeing the real polling that doesn't look good nationwide, and they're bullshitting him because you have to give him good news or he won't get out of bed. So that's the juggle that he thinks the number they tell him is he's ahead by 70 points, but you gotta kill it, otherwise these people will use any wedge they can to get at you. And he's like, yeah, and then it gets up. But the real polls, they're like, fuck, if this asshole doesn't hit every corner of the state, there's a real chance that Haley and DeSantis will split the state with a bigger chunk than he's got. And his followers are all fucking rural. They have a longer drive to get in, whereas DeSantis and Haley have really been hitting the cities, the towns in Iowa, and the suburbs around there. That's where their strength is. And those people don't have to travel as far to be a part of the caucus. So, I mean, but he's a fucking wreck. And I don't know when. This was Indianola, so this was probably his third one that day.
When Nancy Pelosi was there, she had subpoenas stacked up on both sides of her desk, and any congressman could walk in and just take one. With Paul Ryan, he had no subpoenas. Congressmen had go in and beg them, say, Paul, we need it. It's so bad. No. Come back and see me in 2 weeks. Come back. He would never. I don't think he issued one subpoena in all the time. And with crazy.
What the fuck are you talking about? Something about your sub-penis? What? All right. Yeah. There's a certain point where I don't want you guys in the audience to feel bad. Don't feel bad. You're like, because it's the same thing I do. I keep trying to go, well, I think he's talking about this. I think he's referencing this. But at certain points, you're like, no, this is just completely fucking untethered. This is no relation to anything reasonable. This is just, it is okay. I'm giving you permission. It is okay to be fucking confused. Because this is just gibberish. This is just horse shit. Yeah. This is like he's hotboxing all of his followers.
Nancy, she's crazy. And by the way, I offered her 10,000 troops.
No, he didn't.
For January 6th, and I did that 3 or 4 days in advance.
No, he didn't.
And now they've terminated, they've destroyed all of the evidence in that.
No, they haven't. It's all on the website. It's all still there.
J6 committee of thugs and bad people.
The thugs and bad people. Okay, well, it's good that he makes the distinction between thugs and bad people, because I guess there are some, I wouldn't say good thugs, but some sort of like mid-level thugs that'll let it slide.
But we offered her 10,000. If she would have used 500, you wouldn't have had, because that was a very tiny fraction of.
Well, they would have had to shoot a bunch of your supporters.
Could be 1 million. It was biggest crowd I ever spoke before. A tiny fraction, you wouldn't have had a problem at all, but she turned it down. And she is the reason that you had that problem. She turned.
No, she did not stand on the fucking steps going, fuck you maggots, come and take my democracy, you pieces of shit. She was inside filming a democracy, like her daughter was filming a documentary about her, about like, fuck, we made it through. He got kicked. He lost, and now he's going to fucking go. And today's the day when we finalize these votes. And she was the longest sitting, the first female Speaker of the House, and one of the longest sitting ever. I think Hastert was longer, which should tell you something about the Republicans versus Democrats. That's what they were filming. She didn't pick a fucking fight. She didn't give a shit about you.
Turned it down, and the mayor turned it down, and the mayor turned it down in writing.
And the mayor turned it down and rioting.
Turned it down, and the mayor turned it down, and the mayor turned it down in writing. She said,
In writing? in rioting. I think he means fuck me. He tricked me into it again. I'm trying to make sense of it.
No, we're not going to do that. And she said she didn't like the look. I said, look, if they don't want to do it. And she's in charge of security, by the way. I'm not. The president is not. The Speaker of the House is in charge of the Capitol of security, which a lot of people don't know because you don't get the facts. And peacefully and patriotically was not even mentioned. You know, whenever they talk about my speech, they leave the words peacefully. It was called peace.
Yeah, but because that was about the walk down there and have your voice heard. But if Mike Pence doesn't do the right thing, you're going to have to be stronger. We won't have a country left. And these people, you know, are destroying our country. That part was afterwards. So again, it's don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes is not an order to not fire.
Peacefully and patriotically.
And by the way, some of these motherfuckers think it's patriotic to attack police officers.
Paul Ryan was a disaster. A total.
Paul Ryan wasn't there that day. I don't know what to tell you. Like he was the speaker, and then John Boehner, and then I think Nancy Pelosi, and then back to Nancy Pelosi, and no one knows what the fuck you're talking about.
Disaster. Real rhinos. I call him a super rhino.
Do you? Well, rhino means Republican in name only. What do the SUPER mean? Is it SUPA-rhino? Do you? You call them super rhinos because insulting them by calling them rhinos, which is basically liars and hypocrites, isn't enough. Okay. All right. Well, you know, hey, who the fuck am I? Call them whatever the fuck you want. Obviously, they're, you know, they're in your party. You know.
And unlike Ron and Nikki, we will always protect Medicare and Social Security for our great seniors. We're not going to hurt our seniors. We're not going to do it. We have so many other things we can do.
Yeah, there's so many other people we can hurt.
Nikki Haley also supported a 23% national sales tax. So you go out and buy something. And how is that on the middle class? And
okay. Instead of an income tax, they're talking about a VAT tax. Value-added tax. They bring this shit in. Oh, God.
How about lower income people? The whole thing is ridiculous, and she fought it really hard. She wanted it and fought for it really hard. In short,
she fought it, and then she fought for it, and she wanted it. She wanted it really hard. Did she?
Radical left Democrats would chew her up and eat her alive. And what they're doing now?
Okay. Real quick.
Left Democrats would chew her up and eat her alive. And what they're doing now is they're supporting her in New Hampshire.
But before they chew her up, well, I guess they're fattening her up for the kill, I guess. They're supporting her, you know, kind of, you know, it's a cookbook. You know, right.
And Koch is supporting her, who's just nothing but a super rhino globalist version. Ask
the guy, Shemp Coke, whatever, the one that's still alive. He doesn't mean the beverage. Super rhino, globalist, just use whatever insult you can. Just fucking, what do I have? I have this bucket full of shitty, none of these really stick though. Thack, that didn't work. Thack, globalist, thack. I usually only use that one for no? Okay, well, how about like that? No?
Yourselves, who does the radical left and the Washington swamp fear more? Nikki Haley, Ron DeSanctimonious, or President Donald J. Trump? I can tell you right now.
I gotta say that if you're talking about quote unquote the radical left, like for real, the Susan Sarandon, Jimmy Dore, TYT, you know, far left crowd or whatever. They don't fear this asshole at all. They assume he's going to destroy the country, which in their kind of weird apocalyptic utopian idea that for them to rebirth the society they want, the old one has to be destroyed and utterly, no matter who it hurts. So technically speaking, I mean, Susan Sarandon's one of the ones that came to his defense. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the far left likes you a little bit better. I don't think they fear you. I think they probably fear Nikki Haley the most because she's female and she's a woman of color and she might be able, in their mind, to sneak stuff through. And Ron, I know he's not really one, but he poses as one, is my point, as far as Jimmy.
I didn't even used to answer their phone calls. When Koch would call up, I say, forget it, because I thought he was so bad for our
Well, yeah, I don't know, bullshit. They cut him off. This was all this this remote was paid for by Coke money, and click. Yeah, that was the end of that one. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. This is the clips as we find them, folks. We're not adding anything to it. We're not taking anything away.